Welcome again to Lakeshore Focus, a weekly show highlighting the key issues, important events, and interesting people in our region. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick. Have you ever paid attention to those animals that wander the street, lost or abandoned? Are you curious where they end up? Those who are animal lovers question the whereabouts and circumstances of dogs and cats left alone or abused. Let's meet two ladies who dedicate their time and efforts to this challenging issue. Jeanne Sommer, who is the Executive Director for Lakeshore Paws, and Jenny Weber, the Chief Operating Officer of the Humane Society of Calumet. Welcome to Lakeshore Focus.
Thank you.
I was thinking with Jenny and Jeannie, you guys, we can rename the show the Jenny and Jeannie Show.
That's a good idea.
You know, so maybe we'll just like call it that today.
Exactly.
Right?
Okay.
The Jenny and Jeannie Show. This is cool. So we're here to talk. You both are involved with trying to care for animals. Let me just start off and say, why does this problem continue? Why does this problem never get better with all of the lost and abused and abandoned pets? What's going on?
I probably think that it starts with, taking responsibility. Human nature, some people just, don't take responsibility for their animals, and then the other ones fall on hard times and they need help. They truly want the help that we can give them.
So the part where we've got people who still aren't responsible, why isn't this getting any better?
Well, I think it comes down to us putting in some serious educational programs in the community, and also making resources available to people that need help and that need to find affordable care for their pets. Vet care is very, very expensive, and most average families with 2 or 3 children and maybe 2 dogs can't afford the spay-neuter surgeries or the vaccines that they may need. So finding affordable care is also important, but really getting to the issue of spay-neuter is where we can bring our population down, and therefore there are less animals on the streets that are unwanted or abandoned.
This sounds like a familiar issue, affordable care.
Yes.
But now we're talking about animals as
Animals.
opposed to
Right.
humans. So maybe the federal government will pass another law for us and fix this, right?
I think we can do a lot in our own neighborhood, and with working with local government and local municipalities. I think we can make some huge strides in changing some of our legislation so that spay-neuter can become a reward instead of a penalty. So spaying and neutering your pet should bring down your pet license fees, for example,
Right.
instead of increasing them. Making that available.
Well, that's
also
a simple idea. Why can't we
is.
do something like that?
I don't know. We've tried to pass a law downstate several times, and hopefully it'll come up probably again this year. We get closer and closer. We're even trying to establish a fund, just establish a fund, not even put money towards it, but can we just get a fund that people can give to, and we're having a hard time doing that.
If a dog or cat or whatever is spayed or neutered, I mean, do vets ever even give a break and say, well, because your dog is neutered,
I think
we'll
they are.
discount some rates?
They are starting to.
Yeah, I think they are. I think the vets are.
That'd be kinda cool.
Yeah, I think they're trying to help the situation. It's just they could do so much too. But like Jenny said, it gets down to spay and neuter. I mean, we try and take care of all the animals that come in contact we come in contact with. But until you're reducing that source of unwanted dogs and cats, you're always going to have the problem.
So let me ask this, just the size of the problem maybe. I mean,
Interesting.
I've been on your website, been both your websites, but I don't think I ever got to the end of the list of pictures. How many animals do you have right now?
That's a very good question, Kurt, and that is why Jeanne and I and other agencies are coming together to work on a coalition of animal control agencies, rescue groups, and shelters to find out exactly what is that number. We're not required to share data. We're not even required to track data. So getting to that number is really important, going to be very important for us in 2016.
So what is that number for you right now at your
For
place?
right now, we average intake 2,000 to 2,300 a year.
Wow. Now, are you a rescue operation?
We're a rescue operation,
Okay.
so that it's a little
And
different.
we're a shelter.
Yeah, they're a shelter, so it's a little different. What we do is we go to the shelters, we pull from the shelters whether dogs are going to get euthanized or dogs that need training, or we evaluate them, we bring them into Lakeshore Paws, and then we adopt them out.
So you try to help that process, not just leave them
Right.
at the...
Right.
Do you guys do some of that too?
We do. We pull from local animal controls, and Jeannie's agency, Lakeshore Paws, comes and pulls from us. So And that's really what we need to do is collaborate. Cooperate first and then collaborate on some of these issues. We can find that common ground. We may not always agree on the process to get there, but we can agree on the problems and issues at hand in
Right.
Northwest Indiana.
And the goals that we all have.
And the
are
goals
the
that we
same
have.
goals.
Now, is this cats versus dogs here? A lot more dogs than cats? I mean,
No, a lot more
More
cats,
cats
I
than
would say.
dogs.
The cat
Really?
population is extreme, and the feral colonies are extreme and popping up in smaller communities that we're seeing anyway, like Highland and Munster. Dyer has some issues now. One cat and its offspring in 7 years can produce hundreds of thousands of cats. I mean, it is truly an explosive issue.
So how do you educate people about it? Because, you know, we have some of those cats running around our neighborhood.
Right.
And you'll hear some people say they're a nuisance, and other people say, well, you know, they're just killing mice and stuff around here, so they keep the rodents down and the rabbits and so forth. I mean,
Well, Porter County has a problem too, as well as Lake County with the cats. And I think what you have to do is you have to implement TNR programs, which is trap, neuter, release programs. And you trap the cats and you neuter or spay them, and then you return them.
Right.
And the reason why you return them is, like, let's say you take a mom away, you return her back because she might have babies.
Right.
And so you take care of the problem that way. And Porter County, I don't know if you guys are talking about, but we're talking about starting a program like that.
yeah, because
where
there are
we could
people who
start
will
that.
even, they feed the cats.
Right, they feed
that
them.
live, you know, and that's
Right,
kind of
And that's
their
fine.
cat.
Yeah.
Right.
But it lives
It's
in the
their
barn,
cat.
it lives in the
Technically,
garage or
legally,
something,
it
yeah.
becomes their
Right.
cat when they feed it.
Right,
So-
according to Indiana state
Yeah,
law.
it does.
But really, they're
really?
community watch captains, I would say. They're a community block captain. And if you take out a feral colony that is unaltered or altered,
Another one will
then
be replaced.
another group of unaltered cats will come in and take residence. So it's important to keep that colony intact because of their territorial ways.
Exactly.
You know, then you know that this colony will ultimately die out. They're very self-sufficient, and not everyone agrees on the TNR, but it's working really well for us in certain blocks in Gary right now.
What is up with people just taking and abandoning pets? I mean, just taking them and dropping them off
It
someplace.
gets back to that responsibility.
It does.
It just does. And you know what? Sometimes that they'll drop it off because the animal is sick, or it's sick, or it's got really bad behavioral problems. So
Right.
it's just like out of sight, out of mind. And so then it ends up with you guys, or sometimes with us, and then we have to make a tough decision. You know.
Well, our current cat was from 3 little kittens dropped off, I think, in our alley. I mean, they were kittens. Somebody, I guess they thought, if I drop them in this neighborhood, maybe somebody will take them.
Right.
But oftentimes that's not what happens, right?
Yeah. I think people have a capacity, for care, and they do really want to do the right thing. And I think desperate people and desperate times, often lead to desperate measures. And so things fall down on the priority list, and it's easier to abandon the animal or leave it tied up out front of our shelter because, they just don't have other choices. So
a lot of this is about people really not having the resources.
it really
It
is.
is. It is.
It really
they're
is.
not bad people. It's not
Right.
bad. They're just they're like she said.
They just don't know where else to go, and our shelters are all full across the
And all of a
Northwest
sudden
Indiana.
their dog or their cat is pregnant, and now
Right.
they've,
Right.
they've got a whole
We
bunch
get a
lot
of
of those.
kittens, and what am I going to do with all
Right.
these? And now I got more
Puppies.
to feed. And
Right.
So the problem just goes on.
Right.
Now, I was talking to somebody at your shelter the other day, and they were saying, plus we have guinea pigs, and I'm like, it's like, what else do you have there?
Yeah, we've taken in. We kind of are a pass-through agency for birds, reptiles. We've taken turtles to Lowell. We had a pig recently that was adopted. We've even worked with farm animal rescues at some adoption events.
That
So
wasn't someone's teenage
Yeah,
child
we like to
that
think-
was eating a lot.
right. And we just opened a wildlife rehabilitation center in Valparaiso. So we've seen 1,000 animals, native Indiana wildlife, come through that agency. The need is immense in Northwest Indiana. And it's been not discussed and not looked at way too long.
So
way
you
too
only
long.
deal with dogs and cats then?
We deal with just dogs. Actually, we help with TNR,
Okay.
trap, neuter, release. But as far as housing, we deal with dogs.
Okay, so you don't do the cat thing. You're a dog
We
person.
did. We used to. We did for the first year or two. We saved a lot of cats, and like I said, we still do TNR. but we don't have a facility yet to house the cats. If we did, we would.
So TNR, what is that?
Trap, neuter, release.
Okay, TNR.
And Jeannie's right. It's important for agencies to do what they can do.
Not
and
go
what,
beyond their resources.
Yeah, not go beyond your resources, not go beyond your capacity for care. It happens to all of us, but it's very responsible as an agency to try to curtail that or fix that, because it can easily explode without.
Because it's
a moment's
emotional.
notice.
I mean, you want to help everything, and that's why we're
Right.
in this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this.
You
We
want to take
help.
every dog home, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, and it's just you want to help everything, but you can't go beyond your resources because then you're gonna have to shut your doors.
So how many dogs do you have?
I'm down to 2.
Oh, good. Come pull
Yeah,
from
I
us.
have 4.
Then we'll see you this
No,
afternoon.
I mean, you mean me personally?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 2.
So you 2. How about you?
2.
All right.
Yeah.
So 2's enough?
2's enough.
Yeah,
Sounds like a slogan.
Yeah, 2's enough.
I think it was about children or something, but
A 1's enough for that.
When I want to get my dog fixed, I go to Lakeshore Paws.
there you go. So I noticed again on the website that lots of the dogs, look like what everybody calls pit bulls, and I know
Majority
that
are.
that's the term that people are trying to get away from, and not just. So what are we
Right.
supposed to call those dogs now?
Well, pit bull's a generic term for several
Okay.
different breeds, Staffordshire Terriers, sometimes boxers, bulldogs, a lot of those bully breeds fall into that category of pit bull. But truly, what has happened is these are overbred animals, discarded because of the overbreeding, and now we have what is an American mutt. It really
Right.
is just a dog.
It
is just a dog.
It's become the American mutt.
It really has been.
And they're great dogs.
They really
They're
are.
great dogs.
So define what it means to be a bully dog. What's a bully dog?
They fit into, they call bully breeds.
Like a Rottie.
A Rottweiler, bulldogs,
bulldogs,
boxers, Staffordshire Terriers, and I don't.
Cane Corsos.
Cane Corsos.
And, are they a more aggressive dog?
No, they're
They're
just
bigger.
bigger. They're
Okay.
bigger.
They're bigger, so they could do,
more, yeah.
damage.
If a doxy bites you, okay, you're not going to sustain much damage. If a larger dog, no matter what type, lab, Rottweiler, Doberman, they're
Right.
going to inflict a lot more damage. So you don't hear about, the most bites recorded year after year
'Cause
are
they would be small-
dachshunds,
they'd probably be
right?
small dogs.
They're dachshunds, and so a doxy goes and gets no bad reputation for that, but the damage that's inflicted by a pit bull
Right.
or pit bull type dog,
Yeah, just
you'll
one
hear
time
about
and
it.
you hear about it. And then
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but you see in the paper and the news, you see like a dog, a pit bull bit somebody, and you look at the dog and you're like, that's not a pit bull. That's
Yeah,
not,
right.
It's not a pit bull,
Right.
but they've said that.
But you don't hear as much other big dogs like labs and
Because they're not
collies
overbred. Like
Right, 'cause they're not
So
overbred.
define what overbred means.
All right, well, so certainly people use these larger dogs for protection. They notoriously breed them and sell them for protection. And in communities where there are no vets and there is no care for the animals, they continue to breed and land and fill up our shelter. So that is how they are overbred and why they're overbred. And it became very popular to use this type of breed, just like we use working dogs for hunting or working dogs for, sled dogs. They become overbred because the population can get out of control just like that. Right. That's why we're seeing this particular type of dog land in the shelters. There are too many.
Is this an urban problem? I know you're in Porter County, but is this an urban kind of
I
problem?
don't know. I think it's a problem no matter what.
I do
I'm
too.
thinking, but you're right. We find more urban. They come more from an urban area
Right.
Because
than
people
like
are
than
getting
your
them for
rural area.
protection.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, they do.
If it's an urban area
Right.
that people are a little afraid, they're going to get a dog.
Well, they
say,
don't
this will
have
be
the
protection.
they don't have the resources. They don't have the police, the fire, the alarm systems in place, and they don't have any vets in the community at all.
So a dog is seen as cheap. If I have a dog and if I'm out
Right.
walking, I have my
Right.
dog,
Right.
people are not going to come up on me. And if I have my dog
Right.
at home while I'm gone, nobody's going
Right.
to break in here and
That's
take my
exactly
stuff.
right. Mhm.
Right.
However, if you look across the country, you'll see that on the West Coast, it's Chihuahuas that have been overbred because they were very popular, smaller dogs that people wanted to have, and breeders overbred them. And now on the West Coast, there's a Chihuahua problem. On the southern states, it's the lab or some of the smaller dogs as well that are completely overrunning shelters.
That's
And
interesting.
the one area of our country that really has it together is
It's
the
the
East.
East. and there
They
are
have
no
it together, where
dogs
they're actually shipping dogs
Yeah.
to the east because they're out of dogs.
because of their mandatory
And
spay
they've
neuter
saved
laws.
money. They've for every $5. Let's see, what is it? They've saved $3 for every dollar spent, or $5 for every dollar spent, because what they've done is they have spay and neuter legislation. And there is a wonderful agency called Canine Express, run by Kathy Egan.
Yes.
And every month they take dogs down to up to the East Coast.
Wow. So a lot of people want to adopt a dog, and they hear these stories about dogs being very aggressive, and so that's kind of what you're dealing with. So how do you take a dog that's been very aggressive or has some really bad habits? What do you do? Because people are like, I don't want to take that dog.
Well, unfortunately, if the dog is really aggressive, that it's going to hurt a child, a human being, and it's nothing to change. You've got to face the problem.
I think so.
I mean, you have to come to terms and say we cannot save everything. You can't.
You can't.
There are dogs, though, that have had maybe a bad start in life that can be turned around, and we get a lot of those, and they're turned around immediately. And
Immediately.
they're so thankful.
Dogs are very resilient, and they need people. They need people to live and survive and be a dog.
And as long as they're getting that,
as long as
the
they're getting
love,
that,
and they just tell you, you'll have a dog that is just, maybe one of our craziest dogs.
Sure.
And a family will come in and they'll just sit there, and it's just so good and everything. And you're like, oh my gosh, is
Yeah.
this dog? And then 24 hours after they adopt it, you're calling them saying, what do you think? You know, is it, you're thinking they're going to say it's, dog, perfect dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the love and attention that they get that
really
can,
is.
that can change it.
It really is. It's
But
simply
not
just a
everybody's
home.
capable of giving that love and attention to the dog, right?
No, so we try, we evaluate, they go through an adoption application, an adoption interview.
Okay, so
we try and fit it.
this is a good question. So somebody comes in who wants to adopt a dog, and you can just tell this is not a person who needs a dog. They're either they look like their motives are suspicious, or they look like they can't care for it. What do you do?
We tell them no.
We deny the application.
Deny the application.
And they say, how can you deny me that application?
They
Wait
do.
a
They get
second.
mad. That's probably the hard. It's hard. But
Yeah,
you
it
have
is
to
difficult.
do it. We have to remember our goal again is for the dogs.
So what do you
walk
say
through
to
that-
them? If I'm that person, I say, what
We
gives you
sim-
the right to tell me
right.
that I can't have a
We
dog?
simply say that this isn't the right match.
Right.
And we're the professionals making the professional decision. For us, it doesn't happen often. You'd be surprised. It's, most people come in, and only 30% across the country come to adopt at a shelter. We need to increase that 30% and change the stigma. These are wonderful animals that deserve loving homes. And it's a really great opportunity for families to give back to their community by taking in an animal that doesn't have a home. And so we need to increase that 30% of folks that want to adopt from us. And honestly, when they come in to adopt, they really are there to do the right thing. They're not coming in for purposes of, I want to take these dogs and fight them, or I want to take this dog home and just mistreat it. It is very rare.
So,
Right,
so,
very
Jeannie,
rare.
so Jeannie, what do you say to the person who said, fine, you don't give me a dog, I'll just go get one someplace else?
We'd say okay. And you have to say okay. Like if we have a dog that really absolutely needs a fenced-in yard, and they don't have a fenced-in yard, or a dog that can jump a fence, and they have
had
a
one of those.
5-foot fence. Yeah, you have to tell them honestly that that's not the dog for you.
I had a dog that would go over a 6-foot fence. so
Really?
it was- yeah. Oh, he climbed.
Oh, we have
What
those.
kind?
He was just a little, it was a mutt.
Yeah. But one thing about the coalition is we're able to collaborate and say, hey, we had a customer that came in today, a client, that should not be given an animal from your agency. So
Right.
we have a do not adopt.
We do not adopt list.
Which we're building in a little bit more if there's someone that really is red flagging. We don't want them to go to Lakeshore Paws. So I would call Jeannie and say, hey, we just had someone come in. You need to be aware of this person. So,
Okay, so you guys are dog lovers, right?
and
So-
cat,
cat.
animal
And-
lovers.
okay, so you're-
animal,
so
just
you're
any
animal
animal.
lovers.
And
Anything with
wildlife.
4 legs.
But specifically, so what should we do about these people who run these dog fighting things?
This is going to kind of have
They
to
should be
come.
arrested.
Yeah,
They
this
should be
is.
arrested.
Be honest. You
Well,
wanna-
okay, can I
you
be
want-
honest with you?
Yeah.
Indiana.
You like to shoot
in
those people or what?
Indiana, we tried to get a law passed that said that the spectators
Right.
should be a felony for the
Right.
spectators
Right.
as well.
Right.
And we couldn't get it passed.
The law
And you
states
could look
now-
This is
online
what
at
Linda
you're-
Lawson's been working on, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and there were legislators in our area, and I encourage everybody to look and see how these people are voting
Right.
before they go election, and we could not get that passed.
Right. We need to strengthen our laws in Indiana with regards to animal cruelty, with regard to spay, neuter,
Dog fighting.
and with regard to puppy mills. we really need to strengthen that.
Do
It is-
penalties really have an effect on people?
There are
There-
hardly, yeah, but there's not that many penalties to
But if
There aren't any now.
but if there was legislation, that was what it'd be, right? It'd be penalties
I
for
believe
going,
so.
Right, I believe so.
doing the wrong
I
thing.
absolutely believe
Yeah.
so. Because right now, if you are a bystander at a dog fight, unless you are actually holding a dog, you are not charged.
Right.
So
In Indiana.
in Indiana. So some of these things and curtailing this and changing the culture and not standing for it, I think it's a really easy fix. And I think people will be deterred.
We're down to a couple minutes, so
Okay.
I want to make sure that you both get a chance to, I think our audience that watches PBS are some pretty cool people and they're very sophisticated. So what message do you want that audience to have about this issue so that they can do something about it? These are probably people who are taking care of their animals.
If you want another pet, go to a shelter, come to Lakeshore Paws or Calumet or any shelter or rescue, and please donate if you can. If you could donate, because we run on donations. And volunteer, do what you can out there. If you really care, and even if it's like a couple hours a week, we take volunteers that just walk dogs. Every now and then they'll come in and walk a few dogs and leave, and that helps. So anything you could do to help would be appreciated.
Any other thoughts from you about what do you want those people to know or do differently?
I would agree, and I would really also like to echo what Jeannie said and pay attention to what's coming up on the legislative front.
What they're voting.
It's really important that locally that we all stand together and get on the same page with regard to spay-neuter and reduction of the population. We cannot afford to shelter day in and day out. We need to have, some serious spay-neuter legislation in place. So I would pay attention to what's going on in your neighborhood. Do you see an increase of feral cats? Contact your local shelter or your local rescue group. Start in your own backyard.
Wow, you guys
Every little bit helps.
You guys give great advice. So thank you for both being on the show, but more importantly, thank you for all that you guys do to deal with this issue in our community.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Listen to these several statements that have a connection. There are nearly 4,000 nonprofit organizations in Northwest Indiana. Every time we turn around, someone is asking us to donate to some cause. Most charitable groups seem to be short of funds to operate. Most nonprofits are seeking new board members because their current ones are not active enough. Merge these thoughts together and what do you have? An overabundance of organizations constantly asking for money, yet usually short of funds and lacking the volunteers they need to get their work done. I was at an office recently when a local leader was talking about a group of people who had gathered to discuss the issue of helping young men who were being released from prison. Their solution was to form a nonprofit corporation to address this issue. The leader's comment was, "Are you kidding? Another group to work with ex-cons? Why can't they just work with one of the organizations that is already doing that?" I agree. Why doesn't this new group, filled with renewed enthusiasm, freshly dedicated to making a difference, and hopefully ready to write a check and volunteer their time, join with an existing group and not start something from scratch? As an entrepreneur, I know how much time, effort, and money it takes to start a new venture, whether that is a profit-making or nonprofit-based operation. It seems as though people think their approach to the problem or their method of action is the right way to do it. What we need to focus on is the common goals we share. That shared commitment to a common cause should help us combine our limited resources and potential so we may have a greater impact. We have been taught this basic principle since kindergarten. When we work together, we can accomplish more. Let's encourage those organizations where we volunteer and give money to explore this idea of collaboration. With resources stretched so thin, that type of cooperation could help us accomplish much more with less. Thanks for watching Lakeshore Focus. We would really like to hear from you with your thoughts about our show or reaction to my closing comments. Your views are important. Send an email to us at the address on your screen or check out our website, which has a list of nearly 90 of our past Lakeshore Focus broadcasts. Number 738 has Kirk Musprat, the conductor of the Northwest Indiana Symphony, in a highly entertaining interview where his wild hair invades my picture when I'm doing my closing remarks. Check it out. You'll laugh. Join us next week for another Lakeshore Focus. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick saying, make a positive difference in our world today.